right, good morning, everybody. The meeting is called to order. It's 11:01 on Monday, January 6th, 2025. Welcome to Colonial Classics. And I did want to let you know that this meeting is being recorded and we will have a recording available on our YouTube channel. What? Am I not loud enough? You want me louder? All right, I will be louder. I can be louder, except for cedar pollen might make it a little crackly, but that's the breaks. Okay, we're gonna start with opening thoughts from Larry. Can you come on up, Larry?
Well, it's a new year, so let's have a few words from Ralph Waldo Emerson. My wish for you, comfort on difficult days, smiles when sadness approaches, rainbows to follow the clouds, laughter to kiss your lips, sunsets to warm your heart, hugs when spirits sag, beauty for your eyes to see, friendships to brighten your being, faith so that you can believe, confidence for when you have doubt, courage to know yourself, patience to accept the truth, and love to complete your life. Have a good year.
Thank you, Larry. That was awesome. And I do want to also acknowledge that today is the day of Epiphany. And so wherever you go today, look for God. And if you look hard enough, you will find God. All right, so Lois, we're going to be ready for you in just a second. You can make your way up here for your membership and treasure reports. And as Lois is coming up, I want to ask how many people might be going to lunch today at Asian Star Buffet? Can I see your hand? And you're welcome to join us if you like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I see 19 for those of you that need to know. All right, Lois, it's your turn.
Good morning. I'm happy to say we have 25 members here present, so that's exciting. We're growing a little bit. And we have one guest, Emily. I'm sorry I didn't catch your last name. That's a neat name. Night Hunter. That goes along with wildlife, doesn't it? Okay. As far as our money is concerned, we have a balance of $340.18. That's my balance. I haven't been able to verify it with our money people in the office, but that does include we had a $1,200 donation from the quilters. We had a $500 donation from the New Covenant class, and we spent out of our fund 700 and some pennies and so forth for the blinds that are in the hospitality center. So that brings our balance down quite a lot to the 340.18.
Sounds great. You'll have to check out those window shades in the hospitality center. They're really nifty. So thank you all for helping to contribute to that. Adana, let's do our January birthdays. And if you're called up here, please make sure to stay up here until we get a good picture of you for the next month's newsletter.
Okay, can I call them January babies? I bet their parents were disappointed they were born in January. Maybe that was too early. Okay. But we do have two lovely ladies who have birthdays. And the first one is Christine Chamel, whose birthday is January 11th. And our second one is Carolyn Ellis. Is Carolyn here? I had not seen her. Okay. Well, you get to be the soul this morning. So is Lois there? Yes. Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, Donna. You're welcome. Thank you. All right, well, we'll move right along here so we can get to our program. For old business, it's just the usual things like we're continuing our book exchange, but I didn't see any books today. So if that's something that you want to phase out, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll just make it available whenever anybody brings a book. The puzzle exchange also is resumed, and there's a whole lot of puzzles up there. I don't want to carry them all at home back and forth, back and forth. So even if you didn't bring one today, if you're interested in taking home a puzzle to do, take 1, 2, 3, 6, however many you want to, because I've already done all of those, so I don't need them at my house. And again, a thank you for the window shades and the work that went into getting those replaced. Right now, our nominating committee that is composed of Adana Hilkemeyer, Christine Schemmel, and Bonnie Ayer. They're working hard to get a slate of nominees together, and that will be presented to us our next meeting. So if you would like to nominate someone or nominate yourself for any of the offices, which are president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and 3 members at large, make sure to speak to either Adana, Christine, or Bonnie sometime as soon as possible. Also, I'm continuing to do the Spotlight member in the newsletter. And if you haven't already had a turn for that, I can make it easier for you by giving you a list of questions that you could maybe just fill in some bullet points if you want to. Or you can speak to me and I can do an interview, or you can just write up something and send it to me. So if any and all of you have interesting lives and stories to tell, and we don't know a lot about each of you. So I would love to have anyone here be willing to be the next spotlighted member. And I can also, you don't have to write it out word for word. We can edit it. We can just make it whatever you want it to be. So that's all I have for old business. The only new business I have is that the monthly chess, excuse me for my voice, that has been meeting the second Monday of the month is going to be on hold for a while. Probably will be starting up again this summer. So don't come to chess next week or you'll be the only one here. And I think that's all unless anybody else has any business they want to. Yes. Oh, that's a great question. And I actually had written that on my paper that I wanted to mention. Yes, the dues will come again in April. So, and we'll continue them probably at the same amount that we had this year. I may gather the board members together just to verify that, and we'll let you know next month for sure what the dues will be, but they'll be coming due in April of this year. All right, anything else? Thank you for that question. Okay, with that, I would like to introduce to you Emily Knight Hunter. She's from the Wildlife Rescue and Rehabilitation right here in San Antonio, and your offices now are just up the street on Vance Jackson and Hebner. And we're looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Hi, thank you all so much for coming and being here with us today. As she had mentioned, my name is Emily Nighthunter. I work for Wildlife Rescue and Rehabilitation. Our new office is off of Van Jackson and Rustic Lane, just about 6 minutes up the street from here. So it's really close. And we still do have our large sanctuary out in Candelia, Texas. Can you click the presentation? No, can you click the presentation button on the bottom, please? Been around for a little bit longer than I have. Countless wildlife lives and other lives throughout that time, all thanks to people just like you. So if you do have one of those donation envelopes that you picked up here, please make sure that you fill that out and hand it to me before I leave today. Thank you. Almost there. All right. Thank you. Again, we were founded in 1977, and our mission is to rescue, rehabilitate, and release native wildlife and to provide sanctuary, individualized care, and a voice for others in need. So what that means is, of course, we rescue, rehabilitate, and release all of the native wildlife that we possibly can. But when animals are brought to us from the pet trade industry, for one, and they're an exotic animal that cannot be re-released back into the hill country of Texas, we do let those animals stay within the WRR sanctuary, and they reside within that sanctuary, living at peace for the rest of their lives. We do have two locations. We have one location out in Candelia, where that is a 212-acre sanctuary. It is beautiful, has really gorgeous live oaks everywhere across the whole ranch, and has beautiful rock faces for all of the animals to jump around who reside there. We also have out in Candelia, we house our rehabilitation hospital, which most of the animals that we do care for will end up at that hospital. We care for just about 10,000 animals every single year through that hospital. Here in San Antonio, again, right up the lane on Vance Jackson and Rustic Lane, we have our San Antonio Sherman Animal Care Complex, and that is here for anybody who might be in the city who comes across an animal in need. We have a closer location than Candelia because that is about an hour away from here. I keep forgetting to point it the right way. Okay, there we go. So again, the services we provide to animals is we rehabilitation and releases. So after they are rescued, after the generous public person who found that injured baby or injured animal brings that animal to our care, we rehabilitate that animal, which means we get that animal good and healthy and ready to be re-released back into the wild. We heal any injury that the animal might have sustained, and we make sure that the animal can portray in all of their naturalistic behaviors before we put them back in the wild. We, again, we rescue over 10,000 animals every year with just our rescuing and rehabilitation site. And then we also care for about 600 animals within our sanctuary grounds in Candelia. We are always an on-call resource for humans who might have any questions or need any assistance with any species of animal. Our hotline is available 24/7, and on all of those packets that you might have picked up here, our hotline number is on those packets. Make sure that you call that hotline number if you ever do come across an animal that is in need, or you just have any questions about animals that you might see within your own space. All right, so wild animals in urban areas, the presentation that we are all here for. So humans have encroached on wild animal spaces. These animals are native here. These animals have lived here long before any of us ever stepped foot into Texas. And these animals will be here long after people decide Texas is not the place to live anymore. So animals, because they're always going to be here. They're native here. This is their home too. As people take over more and more of that space, they have to adapt. They become better adapt to living with humans. They become better adapt finding foods in the city jungle instead of in, the forested jungles. Wild animals, their bodies are designed to hide within nature. They're not really designed to hide within the concrete jungle of the San Antonio cityscape. That's why you'll see a lot of them in the concrete jungle area, is because they're not meant to hide there. They might be trying their best to hide from you, but that black striped skunk is just going to stand out against all of those pretty glass buildings. It's just not a good environment for them. So they go to where they have the most coverage, which is in spaces where they see native plants, which might be your own backyard. Again, humans have caused animals to adapt. We have taken away their homes. We have taken away their homes and replaced them with our own homes. Well, that tree that was cut down to build your house can no longer be a tree that a raccoon and an opossum and several different squirrel families live in all in one season. So all of those different families have to find a new space in order to have a home, in order to raise babies and to do the things that those animals do naturally. Just like you and I, these animals want to have families. These animals want to have a home. If their home gets destroyed or isn't available for them anymore, just like you and I, they'll find another place. Whether that place is the perfect place to you and in your mind might not match up with if it's a perfect place for that squirrel. That mama squirrel might think that your insulation makes the warmest place in your attic to raise her babies. You might think that it makes a huge mess to have a bunch of squirrels living in your attic, but you have to put yourselves in the animal's shoes. What would you be doing if you were this squirrel? There are humane and inhumane ways to relocate or to deter animals. And now in this part of the presentation, we're going to go over a few of the inhumane methods of deterrence or relocating. At the end of the inhumane methods, we will go over a few humane methods that you can take to your own personal properties and use right within your own backyard. So I know it used to be a huge thing to trap and relocate any wild animal. Take that animal away from your space and put it somewhere else. Put the skunk in a deeper wooded area so they have more woods to explore around and get the skunk out of your backyard. The only thing that trapping and relocating an animal does, though, is provide the space for another animal to move in. Nature is very competitive. Animals are always competing for whether it be for homes, whether it be for water, whether it be for food, or just a nice spot to lay in the sun. Nature is competitive. If you take away the competition from a home area, that's just going to allow another animal to move right into that home. It's not going to solve any problems that you might see with wildlife. And unfortunately, it just creates larger problems. And sometimes if you let's say you have a raccoon in your area that you do not want in your area. You trap and relocate that raccoon, and then because the space is open, a skunk moves in. There are every single action that you do will have a consequence to that action. You just always need to keep in mind what you are doing and what the consequences may or may not be. Trapping animals also does separate them from their babies. So during the baby season, especially if you trap a mother opossum or if you trap a mother raccoon, that mother might be separated from her babies for several hours, if not permanently separated from her babies. If she's separated from her baby, that might mean the cause of life and death to those babies. Those babies, especially if they're young enough to need their mother's milk, just like human infants, they're not going to survive if they don't have that mother's milk. So especially during baby season, it's really not a good idea to relocate any animal. Again, it's not a solution. It just opens up the doorway for more animals to move into that space that you have just opened up for them. The animals do not understand human politics. They do not understand barriers or property lines or anything of the sort. They also don't care to learn it, if you ask me. But animals shouldn't have to learn our human property lines in order for us to coexist with them. We as humans can create ways to coexist with the animals that might be in our space in a better and non-lethal way. Never, ever, ever, please never use glue traps. Glue traps used to be a very big thing. They were super easy. You could throw them wherever. Animals would walk on those glue traps, get stuck, and they wouldn't be your problem anymore, right? Well, for the animals that walk onto those glue traps, that's a really painful way to go. Just think about it for a second. You're a lizard, you're doing normal lizard things, you walk on a glue trap, and all of a sudden you are stuck in the same position for the rest of your life. You are going to slowly starve to death because you can't get any food. You cannot move to get any food. You are going to slowly dehydrate because you can't drink any water. And when you try to move, that glue is going to rip your skin directly off from your body and even might break your bones as you're trying to get off. That is a sad and harsh reality of every single animal that walks into a glue trap. I do encourage each and every one of you, if you have any of these in your house, please remove them. They are a really inhumane and honestly really cruel way to solve a problem. And they're really, besides killing, they're not effective in any other thing. If you do see an animal trapped in a glue trap, we at WRR do have a special solution that we can use to get that animal free from the glue trap. So please, if you ever do find an animal struggling in a glue trap, bring it up to either our San Antonio location or our Candelia location, and we will be able to help that animal and save that animal's life without harming the animal as much as it would have to just pull it from that glue trap. Going mist on your roof and then get into your attic. Make sure that tree limbs and trees should be close to your windows, and if they are, make sure that those windows are completely sealed. Make sure that we are trimming trees in the winter. It's not only better for the trees in general, but during the springtime, there might be nests in the areas that you are trimming that you might disrupt. And during the springtime, trees are growing, and that is the natural time for trees to grow as well. If you do trim your tree in the spring when it is growing its new growth, you do run the risk of damaging your entire tree. So trim your trees in the winter in preparation for the baby season, and you will prevent wildlife getting into your attic and having babies. Sealing your chimneys. A lot of people out here have a lot of chimneys. Actually, this is very different. I came from the Dallas area before I was down in San Antonio again, and I've forgotten how many people have fireplaces down here. It's really nice. No one has a fireplace up in Dallas, it seems. But chimneys are an excellent entry point to your house for a wide variety of critters, not just birds, not just squirrels, not just bats. Any critter that can get on top of your roof and can get into that chimney could get into your house through chimney access. If you seal your chimney off, either using a chimney seal at the very top or just closing your chimney flute in general, that will prevent wildlife from getting into those chimneys. If you are somebody like myself who does like to use their fireplace a lot, feel free to put a large rope down your fireplace, and that will allow for animals to jump up and then climb directly out of your chimney. Now, if you do use this large rope, make sure that the rope isn't going to be, dangling in the fire and catching fire. You do want to be smart about the placement of the rope, but it does help for squirrels especially to grab onto that rope, and they can climb right out of your chimney. You don't have to trap them. They can get out themselves. Securing your trash cans. Now, I know I've said this a few times during this presentation, but raccoons have a sweet tooth. A lot of animals also like sweet things, and all of the rotting food that is in your trash smells a lot sweeter than the nuts that they're gonna find under the trees. So they're gonna go after your trash looking for the good foods that they want. In order to prevent that from happening, and seal your trash cans, that can be as easy as putting a large rock that would be too heavy for a little raccoon to pick up. Raccoons really, unless they're a big raccoon, they really can't pick up about 10 pounds. So just get yourself a 5 to 10 pound rock to put on top of your lid. That'll prevent a raccoon from getting in. There's also trash can lids that do have locks that you can get. There's also a lot, keeping your trash cans inside your garage area would help as well. Or I know a lot of us live in a HOA area where you might have to take out your trash cans at a certain time. You can always just use a bungee cord to tie down those trash can lids as well. So discouraging animals from being anywhere, even in your area. So a lot of animals think that human areas are safe areas. There's there's good smells that come from there. There's warm places. You probably have your heater on when it's 35 degrees outside. Well, that heater is going to heat up the outsides of your house just a little bit. It's going to be a lot nicer sleeping next to a warm house when it's 35 than sleeping out under a tree when it's 35. So the animal's going to choose to sleep closer to your house. There are ways to prevent an animal from thinking that your house is the safest area though, and one of the easiest ways to do that is to get a small little radio and put on a talk show. Put on a high energy talk show at night. It doesn't have to be super loud to bleed into your insides where you can hear it or to where your neighbors can hear it, but put on a sports show, put on a high energy talk show, and make the animals believe that there are humans about. Animals are naturally afraid of humans. We are predators. We look like predators. We have forward facing eyes, and most animals, when they look at us, they immediately notice that, and I don't want to be a prey item. So they're afraid of us. If we put out something to make animals believe that there are a lot of humans around, that's going to prevent them coming up into our spaces. Another really good idea is to use a motion sensor light. This does not have to be a super blinding light. This can be as simple as a 60 or 100 watt light bulb. But if you put it on a motion sensor, an animal that's walking through, it's gonna scare the crud out of the animal from turning on that light. A skunk that's nocturnal, they don't wanna be blinded by a huge bright light. So when they're walking, looking around for the right home, and they're in your backyard, and your backyard light that goes off, that skunk's gonna get out of there as quickly as they can. They do not wanna be there. Make sure we're sealing all of our attics and crawl spaces. Again, prevention is the best way to coexist. If you don't want an animal in your space, make sure that there's not a way for that animal to get into your space. Seal up your windows, seal up your entry points in your attic, make sure there's no holes or cracks in any of your floors or within your walls. Now, with sealing up the attics, make sure that there's not an animal living in the space. If there's not an animal living in the space, feel free to seal up that hole or that crack wherever it is. But if there is an animal living in that space, make sure that the animal and any babies that the animal might have with them are completely vacated before you seal up that space. You don't want to see Mama Opossum go out and then seal Mama Opossum away from all of her babies that she has been raising. You don't want to separate siblings or separate families, and so just make sure everybody in whatever nest or whatever area that you found some animals in, make sure everyone is vacated before you seal off their entry point. For denning animals such as skunks or armadillos, you can use ammonia-soaked sponges or ammonia-soaked rags. Ammonia is one of the main components in cat pee. Texas has two main wild cats around this area. We have the bobcat and we do have the mountain lion. The bobcat might be a smaller cat, but it is an incredibly fierce cat that no skunk or armadillo wants to be in the same room with. And a mountain lion, they are big cats. All smaller prey animals and skunks and raccoons and all of the other animals, they're not going to want to be around a big cat. And so if you take ammonia and you soak some sponges in the ammonia and you put those sponges around a den, you're going to make that armadillo in that den believe that there's a bobcat or there's a mountain lion coming around. That armadillo is going to pack up their belongings and they're going to move to the next space because they do not want to be competing with a mountain lion or bobcat. A skunk, same thing as the armadillo. Skunks might be omnivorous and eat meat, but I promise you no skunk is going to want to square off against the cat. The cat will win 9.9 times out of 10. Cayenne pepper. So cayenne pepper is a great resource, but use this resource sparingly. If you yourself have mammals as pets, dogs, cats, even little mice or hamsters, or you have small children that frequent an area pretty often, don't use cayenne pepper in that area. Cayenne pepper is pretty spicy, and especially for dogs and cats and smaller children, it can cause chemical burns in the mouth if they get enough of it. So please use cayenne pepper sparingly. But if you have an area where there's a bunch of raccoons in that area and you do not need those raccoons in that space, sprinkle some cayenne pepper around. Raccoons, when they step on everything, if they get that cayenne pepper on their hands, they're gonna lick their hands to get it off. They're gonna taste that spicy. Yes, it's not a good idea to use a lot of it because yes, you do run the risk of too much spice. But a little sprinkle of cayenne pepper, they're gonna lick that little bit of spice. They're gonna go, oh, that's spicy. They're not gonna walk around that area anymore. They're gonna stay away from that space. Cayenne pepper and chili flakes also are a great deterrent for squirrels and your bird feeders. Birds are incredible. They do not have the same receptors that we as mammals have to taste capsaicin, the chemical that makes peppers like cayenne peppers spicy. So birds, cayenne peppers, red chili flakes does not bother the birds. That's why they are one of the main spreaders of pepper seeds, and that's why they're one of the main pollinators for peppers because it doesn't bother them to eat the peppers. But the squirrels aren't gonna like that bird feeder filled with all the red chili flakes. Squirrel is gonna take 1 or 2 bites of that and then never eat that again. Yes. Does cayenne pepper work for dogs? Yes, so any mammal cayenne pepper will work for. Any bird cayenne pepper will not harm or affect. Red chili flakes is also a milder but still just as effective resource than cayenne pepper. protecting your garden and your lawn. So if you have that special hibiscus bush that you really do not want those deer to be eating, but those deer tend to only pick your hibiscus bush to eat, put a fence around it. Put a fence around your bush. You're not going to be able to teach the deer to not eat the good hibiscus plants. It tastes amazing to them. And it is honestly really nutritious for the deer. So they're gonna keep eating it. They're gonna come back. No matter what you do, the deer are gonna come back and eat your plants. If you have any plants that you want to protect and you don't want an animal messing with, put a fence around it. Put some sort of barrier, some sort of protection around that plant. Going back, I'm sorry, I went backwards one more time, but going back on this, if you have new sod on your lawn, if you've just gotten a bunch of new sod, raccoons are incredibly smart. They have learned that the people with the new sod have the easiest way to get the June bug grubs. That's one of raccoons' favorite snacks ever. And so it's really incredible. They have watched humans put down the sod so many times that raccoons will now go with their little hands and look for where the sod comes up. And then when they find it, they'll call out to their other friends, and then like 6 or 7 raccoons will all come up and all at the same time. They'll lift up the sod, and then they'll see all of the June bug larvae. And they will get super excited and then go nuts eating that June bug larvae. If you have new sod at your house and you don't want the raccoons to pick it up because they're not the best about putting it back down, they kind of just throw it off to the side after they're done eating the June bugs. Put some wooden dowels on that sod and make sure that the raccoons can't lift up the sod. You can put some large rocks on the sod as well to make sure that the raccoons can't lift it up. But if you have new sod or new things that you don't want the animals to disrupt or to mess with, be smart, be smarter than the animals are. Do things that will prevent the animals from lifting up that sod. Cottontail bunnies, cottontail moms do leave their young for quite a long time during the day. So it's not uncommon to find a nest full of cottontail bunnies without a parent. Again, it's really common. Cottontail moms will only feed their babies at dusk and at dawn. So in the daytime, it's very normal for mom to be off getting herself food and for her babies to be left by themselves. Now, in order to keep cottontails safe, walk your yard before you mow. Look for any nests. Cottontails do not make very deep nests. You're going to see the nests if you walk around and look for them. But if you just blindly go and start mowing your backyard, you might run over a bunch of cottontails and you might run over a nest. I'm sure that you've heard of that happening. The best way for preventing cottontails, the best way of preventing cottontails, any harm to come to them, is just to look for their nests. If you are concerned that a cottontail might not be coming back to their young, and you can always put a little bit of flour and make it a circle of flour around that nest. The flour doesn't have any scent to it. It's not harmful to the babies, nor is it to the mom. And when the mom comes back over, she'll disrupt that circle that you put with the flour. You'll be able to go back and check the next day if that flour has been disrupted or not. If the flour is not disrupted, babies might be in need of some help, but if the flour is disrupted, you can rest assured that mom is coming back and taking care of her young. So one other inhumane way of deterring wildlife is poison. Poison not only affects whatever critter you are targeting, it affects every single animal within the food chain. You might be targeting just a field mouse, or in your mind, just a field mouse. That field mouse might get eaten by a hawk. That hawk might get eaten by a bobcat. Both of those animals that ate that original mouse are now poisoned because of the poison that you put out for that mouse. There are other ways, there are non-lethal ways to coexist and to deter. Poison is not a good option. Again, poison affects everyone. You put poison down for the little field mouse, and the little field mouse goes and gets eaten by any of their predators, and it just goes up the food chain. It can also, leftover poisons after it rains can bleed into our water supply. With us being under the Edwards Aquifer, we get all of our water from groundwater. Anything that leaches into the soil and leaches into that aquifer, we're getting in our own waters. So help us protect our own water sources and let's not put out poison. So to limit rat and mice populations, you can and any rodent populations, honestly, sealing entryways and removing food is the best way. Removing any food sources, so any grain, any corn. If you leave birdseed outside, put birdseed in a metal plastic, or not metal plastic, in a metal trash can instead of a plastic trash can. If you leave your dog and cat food outside, maybe put it a little bit higher up so the mice and rats aren't immediately seen and as they're coming around. I know that this slide does say adopt a cat. Now, this does not mean what every one of y'all are thinking. More than likely, adopt a cat and let it loose for the rats and mice. Adopting a cat is a really good idea for the scent. It does the same thing for the scent as ammonia soap sponges will do. It'll give the impression of a larger predator living in the area, and the mice and the rats, they won't want to be around that predator. So a cat, if you have their litter box inside, you can always take, not their poop, you can take some of their litter pee clumps and you can go spread that around your yard. I know it sounds kind of gross. That smell, if you don't do a lot of it, is not going to affect you, but it will be enough of a scent to deter any other critter that might think that your yard is a safe space. That critter will then think there's a predator living here. Maybe it's not the best spot. And then encourage healthy snake and raptor populations. Again, I know a lot of people don't like snakes in their space, but seal your space, make your space a space that the snakes can't get into, and you will not have an issue with the snakes. Snakes are our best option in controlling our rodent population. It is their natural diet, and it is what they were put on this earth to do. They were put on this earth to help control populations, and one of those populations that they help control are rodent populations. So if you are seeing a increase in your rodent population, maybe look at your snake population. Is your snake population healthy, or is your raptor population healthy? So I know a lot of us have pools. One of the easiest ways for us to protect animals from our pools in the springtime, ducks and geese, they think pools are a great safe pond. There's no predators living in that area. It's all for them. There's ample amounts of space for them to raise their young. It's the perfect spot for that mother goose. But we know as humans that a poolside in our backyard is not the perfect spot to raise her little goslings or her little ducklings. So in order to prevent moms from thinking that it is the perfect spot, get you a lot of pool floaties. Those large, colorful noodle-like things will make ducks think of snakes. They'll make ducks think of other predators that they don't want to be around. Or get a pool floaty that looks like one of their predators. Get a big alligator to put in your pool, and the ducks aren't going to want to land there to raise their babies because they're going to think that there's an alligator in your pool. Another excellent way to help wildlife, if you do have a pool, is to invest in a pool ramp. These are little ramps that can be bought off of Amazon, and they allow frogs and mice and all of the other little critters that might fall into your pool have an escape route to get out of your pool. Again, regular use of deterrents such as the light bulbs, motion censored light bulbs such as the radio talk shows, ammonia sponges, using your cat litter, trimming trees, all of those ideas are the best option to coexist with wildlife in your area. Please never track and relocate wild animals. Again, it does not solve the problem. It only creates a bigger problem. There is no solution. That is not a solution to this. The solution to having animals in our space is to coexist with them and to deter them from being in the areas that you as a human do not or cannot allow them in. And then, of course, the glue traps and poison, please never use glue traps. They're just a cruel and unnecessary way of killing animals. And poison, in the same sense, is just a cruel and unnecessary way of killing animals. It affects more than just what you think it would affect. If you ever have any questions of deterrent methods or ever have an animal that you do believe needs help, feel free to call our hotline number up on the screen. That number is available 24/7 and somebody will always answer when that number is called. Now, on just with the last few minutes, I'm going to quickly go over a few feeding wildlife. I know we all like our wildlife if they're not in our space, and we want everybody likes to feed the ducks at the pond. So ducks and geese actually are the first thing we're going to talk about. If you would like to feed ducks and geese around, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. I am going to tell you do not feed them bread. Bread is very detrimental to ducks and geese, especially when they are younger. It affects how their tendons and their wings grow. What it affects is how their flight feathers grow, and they will. You see at the all of these pictures up here, they have what's called angel winging on their flight feathers. That means that their flight feathers start growing outwards instead of downwards like they're supposed to, and that comes directly from the gluten in the bread. So please do not feed ducks and geese bread. It will make them unable to fly. If you do want to feed ducks and geese at your local pond, spinach, leafy greens such as romaine, great option. They absolutely love it. Also in the summer, get you a pack of frozen green peas or a pack of frozen blueberries. They absolutely would enjoy a nice chill treat in the summer, and green peas and blueberries are very, very, very healthy. You might also get some turtles coming up if you're feeding leafy greens and peas and things, because turtles can see the color green and they cannot resist it. Feeding squirrels, if you do want to feed the squirrels in your backyard, I do recommend that you feed the squirrels something other than peanuts. If you feed the squirrels only peanuts, peanuts are not true nuts, they are a legume. They do not hold a lot of nutritional value for the squirrels, and they're really, really fatty. Now, I'm not saying don't feed the squirrels peanuts, we all need a little bit of fat in our lives. But if you would like to feed the squirrels, try to get more natural nuts like all of the acorns or all of the pecans that have fallen from your trees around. Deer, I know everybody loves to feed deer corn, but deer, their natural diet are forbs and browse and grass. They cannot process corn. The sweet corn that we feed, it's actually very detrimental to deer. It was created by hunters, again, because deer have a sweet tooth like a lot of other native wild animals do. And that sweet corn is very tempting to them, but it's not very nutritious. It makes them feel full without giving them any of that nutritional vitamins that they need, and can cause, unfortunately, some pretty severe disfigurements with their mouth. It can cause, eating enough sweet corn will cause their jaw and their teeth to kind of rot, just like if you were eating only candy for the first 10 years of your life, you're gonna have some pretty bad dental problems. Sweet corn is the same thing for deer. I know I just said I'm not going to tell y'all to not feed the squirrels peanuts because they love them, but even though the deer love the sweet corn, I am going to tell y'all not to feed the deer sweet corn. It's really, really, really bad for the deer. If you would like to feed the deer some sort of pellets, there are pellets that you can feed, such as all stock pellets, which are found at Tractor Supply and other feed stores, and there are specific deer pellets that you can get online. So all of our actions have consequences. All of our actions will affect the wildlife animals that are in your area. It's important to just keep this in mind, and again, just remember that coexisting is the best and possible outcome, not only for the wildlife that we are protecting, but also for you as a human. If you cannot realistically think that you are going to be living in an area without any wildlife animals. Again, they were here before us, they will be here after us. They're here forever, and we need to learn how to coexist with them in order to live peacefully. If you would like to get involved with WRR, with Wildlife Rescue and Rehabilitation, there are lots of ways that you can. This blue brochure up here is our volunteer brochure, and my business card is up here as well. I am the volunteer coordinator, so if you would like to volunteer, you would be talking to me directly. We also, we ask that everybody follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of those good things. We share a lot of information, a lot of valuable information, and a lot of just really cute pictures of everybody that might be residing within our sanctuary. Now I'm going to open it up if anybody has any questions with the last few minutes.
Is the red fox urine a good deterrent for skunks?
Red fox urine wouldn't have as much of a smell as cat urine would, but it would be a good deterrent if you did have a way to get a lot of red fox urine. You would need quite a bit of urine to be able to spread it around your entire yard, but if you had a way to get red fox urine, it would be a good deterrent.
I think there's a bottle that's so, academy, I think it is.
Now, I would be careful about urine bottles that are sold at Academy or Tractor Supply or any large chains like that. A lot of times those are synthetic urines and they won't have the same pheromones or same scent as the natural urines will.
Time or two last summer, I found perfectly round holes in my yard. And I'm wondering if it was a rat or a snake that made them.
So how big were they?
Size of a quarter, 50-cent piece.
Were there a bunch of holes just all in one area?
No,
directly down?
Intermittently, here and there.
That sounds like dirt daubers to me. So dirt daubers, they live in the ground and they make about anywhere from nickel to quarter size holes. And it's really cool to watch them work. They'll take the dirt with their front legs and then they'll kick it with their back legs.
I love cats, but they're all over my patio. How can I don't have a cat in my house. How can I keep all these cats on my patio? Because the birds won't come.
Do you feed the cats?
No.
Do you have any sort of food or warm space available for them? So, is your patio covered?
Yes.
So since your patio is covered, you have created a warm space for them because there's not as much elements in there. If you don't want them in your area, if you don't want the cats in your area, dog urine or have a dog come and have your friend have your dog poop and put some dog poop in your front yard. I know it sounds gross, but the easiest and best way of a deterrent is to get animal waste from an animal that they don't like. So cats don't really like dogs all the time. They also don't like coyotes, but coyote poop might be a little harder for you to get. I would suggest just putting out some dog poop or having a friend come and walk a dog across your property. I know it sounds gross, but to animals, poop tells them everything. It's how they communicate and it's really how they tell everybody everything. I wish they could just talk like we can though.
I want to ask you why you skipped over the do not feed the deer thing. I think it's probably time. But as a bird watcher, I watch the deer come. And you don't want those deer to get so they're not afraid of people anymore. So this is a really bad thing around. People do like to feed the deer just because they think it's funny, but that's not so good, right?
No, it is not good to go out and inherently feed wildlife and to get them used to humans. Unfortunately, with how humans are, a friendly deer is a dead deer. A friendly bobcat is a dead bobcat. Humans do not live peacefully and coexist alongside with the animals, even though we are bringing awareness and we are trying to get more people to live peacefully and to coexist with the animals. It is not a good idea to get the deer to be super, super friendly. Now, if you are going to be putting out food in your on your lawns or anything for the deer, again, please do not use sweet corn for that. I don't think we have any other questions. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, I think that was fascinating. Thank you so much, Emily, for being here. Our next meeting is on Monday, February 3rd, and our speaker will be David Dixon, who's going to talk about one of his recent trips to Cuba. So that should be really fascinating too. Lynn, do we have a closing lesson?
So interesting, really all some good tidbits there. People who you are. I guess you know that. So welcome to 2025. This is going to be the year that we're going to thrive. We're going to thrive as a group, as a Christian community. We support each other. We care for each other. And this is just a good way for us to come together. Learn some interesting things and have meals together in the fellowship. Maybe even have some wise counseling from each other. In the Bible, there's lots of places that we are instructed to get wise counsel. Like in Proverbs 11:14, it says, "Where there is no guidance, a people fall. But in the abundance of wise counsel, there is safety." And Proverbs 15:22, "Without counsel, plans go awry, but in the multitude of counseling, plans can be established." So we have each other, we have God first, always God first. There's a cute little formula I'm going to share with you that after we have God first and we have our community, it's good to talk to ourselves. This poem is "I Talk to Me," and it was written by a lady who was at that time 99 years old, and once a month she would pen a poem to go in her church newsletter. So, "I Talk to Me" by Phil Colvin. I talk to me a lot these days about the things I do. I find that quite often a serious talking to me. "Get those shoulders back," I say to me as I start down the hall. I get them back and start my track and hope I will not fall. I say to me when I awake, the pain is really bad, but I remember that many more have more pain than I have ever had. It's really annoying not understanding what they said and wonder if I've answered in some stupid way. Then I tell me to remember stupid answers are not new. Sometimes when I still hear well, I answer stupid too. I need a reading class these days, and so I say to me, be very thankful I can read, many cannot see. I tell me I should exercise, so I'd rather sit and read, but I want to keep my strength, so I must practice what I read and keep. I can still sit, I can walk, I can see, I can hear. Though not as I used to be, I find it's really helpful a lot the times I talk to you. So first we talk to God, but we always know we have to counsel with each other and within ourselves. Trust that. And as we go into 2025, we will thrive. So let us pray. And this is our blessing for our meal. Heavenly Father, thank you once again for bringing us together. Help us to enjoy this Christian fellowship and know that there's comfort here and encouragement and wise counsel. Thank you for our food, the ones that prepared it. Help it to give us strength to be your servants. And then we pray.
Thank you, Lynn, and with that, this meeting is adjourned. And if you want to come down and if you haven't had a chance to get some of these resources from Emily, make sure you do that and pick up some jigsaw puzzles on your way.